Another winter had begun, bringing with it cold air and the growing possibilities of snow. In the city of Canterlot, two fillies raced down the road, eager to visit their favorite place around this time of year. The oldest was white, with pink hair that had just begun to lengthen. The youngest was navy blue, and just like her sibling, she too was dressed in a small winter cloak with a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck. When they reached their destination, it became clear that they weren't the only ones ready for what was to come. It looked like every child in Canterlot had awoken with the same idea. Even a few older ponies stood in line waiting for the doors of a small bakery to open. This bakery had only just opened last winter, and the things the workers came up with were some of the best pastries the two fillies had ever tasted. It was said that the owners had traveled far and wide, collecting as many forms of wheat and fruit they could get their hooves on. It certainly showed once the trays were brought out on display. At last, the doors to the shop opened, and the bearded earth pony stepped outside. The sunken fluffy hat he wore covered his ears and eyebrows. The young pony saw a smile form within the old stallion's bushy beard as he tipped his hat to them. His assistant, a short freckled unicorn, opened the curtains from inside. The earth pony waited for just a few more seconds before allowing the crowd to enter. As expected, he allowed the children to go first. The little fillies and colts filled the inside of the bakery in a matter of seconds. The bakery was as warm and welcoming as ever. From behind the counter, they could see another unicorn levitating a tray filled with doughy delicacies into one of several brick ovens. Mopping her sweaty forehead, she took another tray out for cooling. The smell of the freshly cooked goods made the children's mouths water, as one by one, the finished foods were put out on display. In what seemed like no time at all, the shelves were filled with fritters, custards, tarts, sweet figs, buttery bread, and small pies. The two sisters decided to keep their hoods up once they entered the shop and stayed in the back of the crowd, for they knew what would happen if they were spotted. With trays now reappearing faster than disappearing, one of the bakers had taken up the counter and began taking orders from the hungry crowd. As each customer was given their warmly wrapped delights, the two drew close to the front. When the old earth pony saw who was coming closer, he beamed down at them. They might have been able to use the smell and sight of the irresistible treats as a diversion to keep curious eyes away from them in the crowd, but they couldn't fool him. Even the unicorn managing the front desk seemed to know who was hidden behind the cloaks, but instead of calling them out, she asked what the two wanted. The oldest filly pointed at one of the pies, while her sister had homed her sights on a roll of buttered bread with raisins stuffed in it. With her horn glowing, the unicorn made the packed sweets levitate over to them. Before the white filly was about to pay for their food, the unicorn stopped her. The two knew what this meant, but the eldest made 12 coins float from out of her pouch and placed them on the desk before she left with her sister following close behind. Once back inside their home, the two let their hidden wings and horns show. Being able to go outside without having hundreds of wondering eyes stare at them was nice for once. Together, they sat by the fire and ate their treats before their parents came to collect them for their studies. A small gust of cold air swept across the city of Canterlot. Winter was back again, albeit more tame than it was centuries ago. It didn't put a permanent stop to the expected weather to come. Inside the castle, Celestia sat a confused Luna down by the fireplace and told her to stay while she went to retrieve something for her. Luna didn't know if she should be curious or worried about what her sister had run to get. With the fire crackling behind her, she decided to continue where she had left off in her magazine. She had just begun to flip the page when something caught her attention. Raising her snout to the air, she sniffed. There was something familiar about the scent she was picking up. Luna closed her eyes, trying to think back. She knew this odor. She had smelt it a long time ago, when she and Celestia were. The sound of footsteps drawing close made her eyes open. Celestia had come back. Behind her, 2 plates hovered with a buttered raisin roll in one and a small pie in the other. Celestia gave Luna her pastry and sat across from her. Luna looked down at her plate. After all the years spent apart, Celestia had remembered one of their fondest childhood memories. Smiling at one another, the two levitated the sugary treats up to their faces and prepared to take the first bite.